Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Life Under Deborah's Palm, where today is going to be maybe a little bit different. I'm going to talk about the risk of falling with dementia patients, as well as show you a product that could help you get someone up off the floor. People with dementia are at a greater risk of falling due to a number of reasons. Imbalance. Sometimes the disease itself can cause balance issues with people. Some of the medications that are given for dementia can cause balance issues. There's also the spatial depth issues that go on with the brain, where the brain doesn't process the vision correctly anymore. The experts will tell you that when a person hits a certain stage of dementia, those visual spatial things kick in, and transitioning from flooring to carpet, they may actually view that as stepping into a hole. And if you watch them, their gait will change and they'll get real tentative about stepping. They may not perceive that little lip on the carpet. They may view it as a step. They may not view it as a step and catch their foot and fall. If you are caring for someone in your home with dementia, you probably will come across a fall at one point in time or another, especially if you're planning on keeping them at home for a long period of time, or possibly to the end. For those of you who are awesome caregivers and can do that, you're going to come up against this. And I want to just take a minute to say this. Thank you to everyone who watches this channel. Even if you don't subscribe, I've had over 1 million views, and I probably have about 13,000 subscribers at this point. And when those things happen to content creators on YouTube, it's not unusual to get approached by companies who ask you to review their products. I was approached by a company called Maidesite. They said I could go to their website and choose any product I wanted to review. Maidesite is a mobility site, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to find, because I certainly wouldn't have put anyone with dementia on a scooter and let him go running all over the place. I grabbed my husband and said, look at this site with me and tell me if there's anything that we wished we had had when we were dealing with this disease. Both of us landed on the same thing. A lift chair, not the kind that gets you out of a nice comfy recliner type chair, but one that can help get someone off the floor after a fall. In fact, I'm sitting in it right now. My mom didn't have a lot of problems with falls, but my mother-in-law did. On top of the disease, she had arthritis and bad hips and knees, and sometimes she flat out fell. But sometimes she did this thing, especially when she got into assisted living, where she didn't fall, she slid down the bed. So she would go to get in bed and she would back her rear end up to the mattress and just kind of miss, and she would just slide down to the floor. My husband had picked his mother up off the floor more than once, and he said, I would definitely take this as a back saver. I didn't even know they made these things. So I have watched YouTubers unbox all sorts of things, and full disclosure, I will get a percentage of any chair you buy. I have found the YouTube unboxing to kind of be uninformative. So I decided I'm going to take a look at this from a little different perspective, and I am going to show you exactly how I would be looking at this as a consumer, not just someone saying, hey, buy this and I'll get a percentage. Let's take a look at how the chair works, and you definitely want to listen to my in-depth review at the end. Here we see I'm just setting up the chair. It has handles at the top. You set it down and you open it up, and you'll see I'm checking to make sure these plastic rods sit in the cradle correctly. You flip the wings down. Now the person is going to have to either be able to scoot, which is what the wings are there for, or you're going to have to be able to lift them, or probably a little of both. Make sure you get the person really centered in the chair. You'll notice it has a 45-degree back, but as soon as you hit the up button, it'll come up to 90 degrees, and it is a really slow lift. So no one should be freaking out. And as always, do not let a dementia person run this without any help. This is the #1 seller on Amazon, and it is also FSA and HSA eligible. If you have those accounts, they will work for this product. The chair is also waterproof and can be used to lower someone into a bathtub. Once we decided that we wanted to try this chair out, Maidesite sent us a link to their product on Amazon. I clicked on the link and checked it out, but then I did what I would do as a consumer, especially when it comes to higher ticket items. I went to Amazon and I put it in the search bar. And I did this to see what was going to come up. What were the competitors? How did the competitors do versus these guys, their pricing, all of those things. So when I typed in the search, the very first thing that came up was their chair because it's the #1 bestseller. That's a good thing. There were several others that looked just like it and were comparative in price. But the other thing I noticed was Maidesite's chair had over 2,000 reviews. The other companies had a couple hundred. I clicked on the chair and I was met with a red box that says frequently returned item. That being said, I chased it around a bit and I found out that Amazon is labeling things that are frequently returned. They tell you to go look at the reviews. And when I buy something, I always look at the 1-star reviews. And I'm here to tell you, the majority of the returns weren't mechanical. There were some, and I'm going to go through each one of these. One of the reasons for returns is that when this chair gets lowered down to the ground, or to the floor, I should say, it does not sit flat on the floor. And that is true. There are these little wings that you'll see, and the wings are there to help someone scooch up onto the chair if they can't lift themselves up, that they can kind of shimmy on there. It does, I measured it, it sits 3.5 inches off the floor. And if you think someone can't get 3.5 inches off the floor, or you are unable to help get them 3.5 inches off the floor, that will be an issue. But that's not a mechanical issue. Another reason it was returned, and I have the solution for it, is that they said it was too heavy. The chair weighs about 30 pounds and it is rated for a person up to 300 pounds. If someone's over 300 pounds, you have to get a different chair. But the heaviness, it's not too heavy for me, but it doesn't mean it's not too heavy for someone in their 70s. Maybe they have some sort of aches and pains. They really just can't drag it around. But here's the solution. I was reading some of the 5-star reviews, and there was a guy who was an engineer, and he said what he did was he also bought a luggage dolly. It's, you know, it's got the handles and the flat spot on the bottom, and it has wheels and straps, and he set it on the dolly and strapped it on and had no problems and loved it. I did see one person who had the same concern I had, but having tried this multiple times now, I think I'm pretty good with it. In fact, I'm kind of rocking now. You can see me with my knee. People had said they weren't sure it was stable, like it felt like it rocked. And the reality is there is some rocking to it. I don't think it's extreme. Part of it is the fact that it's sitting on a carpet at the moment. And it came with suction cups. I'll show you what it comes with, but mine came equipped with like suction cups. So if you're on a hardwood floor, you're on a tile floor, or the bathtub, you can use this in a tub if you want to lower someone down into the water. It's completely waterproof, and the suction cups, you would definitely want that on. Also comes with another set of feet that are more grippy for a carpet. I have looked all over this thing trying to figure out why it does rock, and as I already said, one, it's on carpet, it's going to do that. Two, I think with the suction cups, there's just some play. And the third thing is, the way this chair works is there's a rail, and the rail, there's a foot that goes in the rail and it slides up and down. There's a little bit of play in it, and I think there has to be a little bit of play or else it actually won't slide. So if I was going to put someone in this chair, two things. Number one, make sure they're really in the center of the chair. It moves very slowly, but also maybe have a hand on them. There is no seatbelt on this chair, so have a hand on them so they, you know, they don't feel rocky. Like I said, you're seeing me now, you're probably seeing me rock more than the chair rock. I would be comfortable putting someone in this chair. The next thing I'm going to address is people said they liked it, but after 2 or 3 times, it stopped working. I've had the chair for about 3 weeks, and it's sitting in my living room where I just keep hopping in it and going up and down, and I am at 20 times. I'm on the first charge, and I haven't had any issue at all. I would also say to you though, make sure you keep the remote plugged in and charged for when you need it, because you're not going to need it all the time. And when you do need it, you are definitely going to need that thing to be charged. The last thing I'm going to talk about is people had said that there was plastic that broke. I couldn't tell. Someone had put a picture up. I wasn't sure what they were showing a picture of exactly, but here's my suspicion. It's on the back side where the mechanics are, and I will show you this, but there's a piece that comes down and it has 2 rods. Those rods aren't stationary. They flex. They can turn one way or another. I'm going to show you the cradle that they're supposed to sit in, and I would have to say make sure they get in the cradle. That's where they're meant to sit. And if you don't get them in there, they're probably have a good chance of breakage. Also, those people had bought the chair used. I don't know if it was open box. It just, they said they got a good deal. It was used, and when they used it, it broke. That's an Amazon issue, and you know, that's a buyer beware Amazon issue probably. So without further ado, let me just give you a quick tour of the chair. These were the accessories that came in the box. Obviously, you have a charger. It connects to the remote with a 4-pin prong, and it snaps together. It actually clicks. There are 6 feet that you can use on the carpet. Very easy. They just screw in and out. And the last thing holds the remote on the tile if you use this in the bathtub. It's just a suction that sticks to it. You'll see the remote has a loop on the top. You can briefly see the handles. I should have zoomed in on it a little bit better, but what you're looking at here are the plastic rods I was telling you about. They turn, and they need to be set in the cradle. You'll see there's 2 cradles in there, one for the bigger one and then one for the smaller one. I'm lifting the chair back and setting those 2 rods into their cradles before I turn the chair on. So this is the back of the chair, and up here at the top, that's the motor that runs it. As I believe I mentioned, it's waterproof for the bathtub. Now I'm hitting the button so you can see it raises. It does start at a 45-degree angle and it goes to a 90, and down towards the bottom you'll see the metal ram that pushes it up, and there are the rods working correctly. And to purchase the #1 selling Maidesite chair on Amazon, please use the link below. And as always, have a great day.